We were talking about the hides, and well, that leads up to like being in the fall of the year. And in last of October and November, and even back to the last of September, on the weekends, it'd be pretty days after we got the potatoes dug and all of that kind of stuff. Well, then we would go out and hunt nuts for the winter. Well, there was big walnut trees, black walnuts, and we would gather those, and by the time we got through, our hands would be real black, all stained up with those walnuts, because we'd hull them out and take them and put them in an area under the house for them to dry. Well, we'd get our walnuts taken care of, and then we'd go hunt chinkapins. Now a chinkapin grows in a bush type. It doesn't get to be in a tree form. It's more bush, and it'll grow 15 or 20 foot high, but it is related to the chestnut. When I was growing up, the chestnuts started dying in our area, and I remember finding chestnuts on the ground, be out in the woods, and those chestnuts, they're just a larger form of, and the chinkapin was smaller, about the size of a small marble. Well, we would hunt those, and they had a burr. They came out of a burr just like a chestnut did. And boy, that would stick your fingers. It'd get your cuticles real bad. And we'd try to get something, take us a stick or something with us where we could hull those things out. But if you get a gallon of chinkapins, then you've got a lot of good eating, because the shell on them is real thin, and you can pop one in your mouth and you can just burst it with your teeth and just spit the hull out. But those chinkapins were good, the chinkapins and the walnuts. And we had hazelnuts, and they grew in a big thicket also. And we'd go, and of course they would start to burst open, but you had to pull the hull that was on them back away from the nut itself to get them out. Now that was a little harder to do. Now hazelnut, you usually had to have something to burst it. You couldn't burst it with your teeth like we did the chinkapins. But that was so good. Oh gosh, that meat in those things, I can just about taste it right now. Then we would go and hunt hickory nuts. Now, a lot of people have never tasted the fruit or the meat of a hickory nut, but we had some big ones. Some of them were nearly big as walnuts that we would go find. We knew where 2 or 3 trees were like that, and when they would get ripe, they wouldn't be bitter. They'd just be a real good, sweet tasting meat in that nut. Now, if you got it before it got good and ripe, it would be bitter. It would let you know it. So we would gather up, if we could get a bushel of those things hauled out, well, that would last through the winter. But with the hickory nuts and the walnuts and all of this stuff, and you had to keep them, like the chinkapins and stuff like that, you had to put them in a bag of cotton. My dad would buy feed in a 100-pound bag, and it would be finely woven cotton bag that it came in. And my mother would wash these bags, and she would make my underclothing out of them, make my sister's stuff out of them. Some of them would have pretty print colors all in them, and she'd make little dresses and so forth. And well, anyway, getting back to the nuts, we would take those bags, and she had a sewing machine, and she'd sew right down the 2 seams down the center, and then we could split it, and we had 2 bags out of it then, and we put chinkapins in one and hazelnuts in one, and we'd take them and hang them up somewhere where the mice or rats and stuff like that couldn't get to them, because once they found out where they were, you had lost your crop. But in the wintertime, when it would be a big snow on or something, we'd go get us a bunch of walnuts and hickory nuts and hazelnuts and all that kind of stuff. And we would have all of that at Christmas time. And when it'd be a snow or bad weather, we'd sit around in the house and crack those things and eat them. That was a treat back then. So, but we had to work for what we got. But you were real thankful for that once you got it, and it was tasting so good while you were eating it. And we did all of those things in the fall of the year before the weather got bad. That was there used to be a little song called "Me and My Girl Went Chinkapin Hunting. She Fell Down." That's the end of that story.